Today is Wednesday, July 14th, 2021. I am reviewing the video for the Practitioner, which is called the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner Training Camp. We have several modules that we're reviewing, and this week we are reviewing Module 3. And in Module 3, there are several parts. There's 5 parts. So you got Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4, and then Part 5 is the module completion and exam hints. And that is what I'm going to be talking about today. So in the video at the end, he has, I think, about 6 minutes where he goes over the module, like what he reviewed and then what exam hints will be on the test. So he did start out with Identity Access Management, IAM, and an Identity Access Management, IAM, helps you securely control access to AWS resources. So with an IAM, you can control who is authenticated, which is signed in, and authorized, which is permissions, to what resources. So you could look at your driver's license and look at your picture for your authentication, and then you could look at your date of birth for the authorization. So, you know, if you're 21, then you could go into a bar. So it's kind of a different way of looking at it. So an IAM authorization and authentication have a user, a group, and a role, and then there's also policy docs. So a user is a permanent name operator, so it could be a human or an AWS service, which has permanent authorization credentials, where then you have your role, which is also an operator, just like a user, and it could also have a human or an AWS service, but this has temporary authorization credentials. And then you have your group, which is a collection of users, and it usually contains multiple users, and you can have a user that belongs to multiple groups. And then you have your policy docs, which enforces the authorization permissions. Then he goes over the virtual private cloud, the VPC. A virtual private cloud is a virtual network dedicated to your AWS account. It enables you to launch AWS resources into a virtual network that you can define. And then you could just pretty much think of the AWS VPC as literally your data center and in your AWS cloud. Then you got your EC2, which is the Elastic Compute Cloud. And EC2 provides scalable computing capacity in the AWS cloud. It's virtual machines in AWS, which is also known as an instance. So you'll hear him talk about EC2s and instances, and you'll probably see that also on the exam where they'll bring up both of them, the EC2 and instances. There are 4 ways to pay for the Amazon EC2 instances. You got on-demand instances, reserved instances, spot instances, and then the dedicated hosts. The on-demand instance, you can pay for compute capacity per hour or per second, depending on the instances you run. Reserved instances provide you with a significant discount, which is up to 75% compared to the on-demand instance pricing. Spot instances allow you to request spare Amazon EC2 computing capacity for up to 90% off on-demand off the on-demand price. And then you got your dedicated host, which is a physical EC2 server dedicated for your use. Then he goes over security groups, which is also known as SGs. A security group, AWS security groups act as a virtual firewall for your EC2 instance to control inbound and outbound traffic. They enforce security at the instance level, not the subnet. And then you could also have different instances you could apply several security groups to several instances. In a security group, you add rules to control the inbound traffic to instances and separate rules that control the outbound. Then he goes over elastic block storage, which is EBS. EBS provides block level storage volumes for use with the EC2 instances. So the elastic block store volumes are highly available and reliable storage volumes that can be attached to any running instance that is in the same availability zone. EBS volumes that are attached to the EC2 instances are exposed to storage volumes that persist independently from the life of the instances. So then he talks about the elastic block store volume types, and there are two. You got your SSD volume type, and then you got your HDD volume types. Now, under each of those, he is going over two of each. So in the SSD volume types, you have your general purpose SSD and your provisional IOPS SSD. The general purpose SSD balanced between price and performance, whereas the professional IOPS SSD has the highest performance SSD volume. In the HDD volumes, you have your throughput, optimized HDD, and your cold HDD. The throughput optimized HDD is low cost, frequently accessed, throughput extensive. And then you got your cold HDD, which is lowest cost, frequently accessed workloads. For your Amazon EBS pricing, you have, so the Amazon EBS pricing depends on the following things: your volumes, your snapshots, and your data transfers. So your volumes are the total storage of all EBS volumes and are charged as gigabyte above. I think I'm just trying to read that. It just doesn't sound right. Charge as GB a month. Snapshots are total snapshot storage consumed in an AWS S3. EBS snapshots copy between regions and is charged. And then you got your data transfer, which you have your inbound, which is free, and your outbound is charged. The next item that he discussed is the simple storage service, which is S3, which, you know, S3 provides object storage through the website service interface. You can store and retrieve any amount of data at any time from anywhere on the web. So what it does is it stores files. So like it's files, documents, pictures. So it's object storage, but you cannot store operating systems. And then he has in parentheses the elastic block store EBS purpose. So the next step, he goes over Amazon S3 concepts. You have a bucket is a container of objects stored in Amazon S3. Every object in S3 is contained in a bucket. So you want to think of the bucket as a folder where you could store your objects, which is your files. And then bucket names are globally unique. Which he also has the DNS, which is domain name system. So it has to be DNS compliant. Amazon S3 data consistency model. So Amazon S3 provides read after write consistency for puts of new objects in your S3 bucket in all regions. So this means that you can access the objects immediately after it was copied in the S3 bucket. The Amazon S3 offers eventual consistency for overwrite puts and deletes in all regions. So if you update or delete an object in an S3 bucket, it will change eventually and will propagate and be propagated and visible everywhere. Amazon S3 features. So you got storage classes. You have your standard storage class, your standard AI, your one zone AI infrequently accessed, glacier, and then deep archive. So the standard storage class is used to perform sensitive use cases, those that require millisecond access time and frequently accessed data. The standard AI, designed for long-lived and infrequently accessed data, plan to store data for a minimum of 30 days. Amazon S3 stores the object's data redundantly across multiple geographically separated availability zones. The objects are resilient to the loss of an AZ, which is the availability zone. And then you got one zone AI, infrequently accessed, designed for long-lived and infrequently accessed data, plan to store data for a minimum of 30 days. Amazon S3 stores the object data in only one availability zone. However, the data is not resilient to the physical loss of the availability zone. So unlike the standard AI, the objects are resilient to the loss of the AZ. And then you got Glacier. So data stored in this storage class has a minimum storage duration period of 90 days and can be accessed in 1 to 5 minutes using expedited retrieval. You got Deep Archive, which is the minimum storage duration period of 180 days and default retrieval time of 12 hours. This is the lowest cost storage option in AWS. So then he also talks about transfer acceleration. So Amazon S3 transfer acceleration enables fast, easy, and secure transfers of files over long distance between your client and your S3 buckets. Transfer acceleration takes advantage of the Amazon CloudFront globally distributed edge locations. He does go over an overview for the Amazon S3 pricing. So it says, and I think this is the last of it, Amazon S3 is AWS object storage service built to store and retrieve any amount of data from anywhere. It is designed to deliver 99.9999999. So I think it's a total of 11 nines percent. Durability, storing data for millions of applications. Amazon S3 provides the simplicity and cost effectiveness of pay-as-you-go pricing. You pay only for the storage you use, no minimum fee. And then Amazon S3 pricing, you got Amazon S3 provides the simplicity and cost effectiveness of pay-as-you-go pricing. You pay only for the storage you use, no minimum fee. Price will depend on the following things. So you got your storage class, your storage, your requests, and your data transfers. And then he has storage where it's the number and size of objects, your request, which is your get request, come with charges, and then your data transfer out of Amazon S3. So that is just the review of I think it was 2 hours of the context that I just briefly summarized. I guess on Friday we'll get together and we'll see where everyone is at, and then we could see if we're going to proceed to module 4.